Sarah, can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Good morning.
We hope you're feeling better, Sarah, but thanks for joining us.
Well, I hope I don't cough away, but yeah, it's getting better.
How's the unpacking going?
Well, actually, this room is a mess. But
It's the best Zoom backdrop I've seen in 2.5 years.
Are you going to run the meeting from Zoom?
no, I thought it'd be better if you run it in the room. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I gotta get you to switch.
I think
I'm
it's
not
better, Dave, if you run the meeting.
So I guess the first item on the agenda is a candidate interview, so we'll just wait.
Well, the interview, he's coming at 9.
Oh, he's coming at 9? Okay.
Get through the business.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order unless someone else would like to run the meeting. Waiting.
You're on board.
I take it everyone has.
Some of us aren't permitted to, so.
Everyone has read the minutes from the November 7th meeting. I'll entertain a motion or discussion.
Make the motion.
Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Any opposition? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, what we're doing as a new policy is taking all of these together as a single resolution called the consent agenda. Unless someone would like to, if you could ask if anyone would like to remove an item from the consent agenda for individual consideration.
Would anyone like to have an item removed for an individual consideration? Otherwise, items A through I will be voted on as a group.
Great, thanks.
We'll remake that motion then. So we've covered everything.
And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion is carried. Thank you. Review of the board and committee attendance report.
That should be towards the back of your packet. The last 2 pages.
This committee has really good attendance.
What's that?
This committee has really good attendance on the sheet. This particular committee.
Yeah. So there's a couple that pop out. What is the status on them? Joe Benson.
She's gone.
He's gone, right?
And
He
that's
has
why
resigned.
last line,
Yeah.
not there for the rest of the
Right.
meeting. That helps.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to attendance at meetings, section 15 of the current bylaws provide that in the event a director is absent from a meeting without the approval of the chairperson, said absence shall be deemed unexcused. The governance and nominating committee will meet with any director who is unable to attend more than 3 consecutive meetings to assess the director's continued ability to commit the time necessary to serve on the board.
Right.
Now, we will be talking later about a complete review of the bylaws in anticipation of the upcoming annual meeting. I think that what the committee has done in the past is delegated to the board chair to speak with anyone in this category, but we might want to make it more specific. But that's the test by which we're reviewing these.
Because typically what happens, and there's one name that stands out here, is that happens. And in fact, I've gone and talked to that person, and then they would show up at the next meeting, and then you never see them again. And you go talk to them again, and they would show up at the next meeting, and you never see them again.
It may be that we want to go to a policy that after the 3rd meeting, because this consecutive thing gives you the chance to catch up, right?
Yep.
So you miss 3, you come 1, you miss 3, you come 1. But that could be a discussion at the next committee meeting when we review the bylaws.
Okay.
But
I have a comment here. I've because I'm talking about the next meeting, because we really only have one person right now, who's Derek Grout, who came, we sent him the resignation letter, then he came twice after that. And then he now has not shown up for the last two meetings, and his first term is up in April. So one thing we could do is just wait and see if he turns up this month and makes a real effort or not. And then we could just not renew his board of directors seat, or we could get a resignation earlier.
I didn't realize his term was up in April. That's a good fix.
We've spoken to him many, many times.
What is it that makes him the only person? Like, is there a criteria that is it just simply that he's 3 of 12, someone else is, 5 of 12, someone else is, what is is it the attendance that's the criteria?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is
Pretty
it
much.
below?
There isn't
There
anybody
might-
else on it at this point who's a problem.
But that makes, if you have, at least what, we have 12 meetings a year. So, is it if you miss 4 meetings a year, you're out? But right now, it's 3 consecutive. So you miss 3, you get spoken to, you come back.
Right.
Then you miss 2, you come back, then you miss 3. You go the whole year and
Had 3 meetings and you're still in.
yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken actually with, I see Sean Sawyer on here. He's in a big construction project right now, and he had a few times when he didn't show up, but he is back.
The interesting thing is that the way it is written, it allows the chair to, in discretion, excuse someone so that they are not considered missing consecutively. But I know, if someone was sick and couldn't participate by Zoom, you could excuse them. If someone was going to a family wedding and wherever, you could excuse them. But again, that then if they don't have an excuse for the next 2 meetings, they miss 3, but you don't have, maybe just that you go to a fixed number of meetings you miss. And there should be some opportunity to cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just out of courtesy that the board member in question should notify Lisa that he's not coming. He or she is not coming. They are not coming. That way we know at least they're paying attention.
I mean, what we have now isn't that bad, but it just needs a termination point. It needs a point where you just say, enough.
Well, like I say, after the 3rd meeting, you're considered resigned.
Well, do you even meet a 3rd time? Because you're gonna get another excuse.
No, but when you miss 3 consecutive meetings,
Missing meetings.
you're automatically resigned.
I would agree with that.
Lisa,
Well,
the folks that attending meetings, are they returning your emails like in the negative?
For the most part.
Okay, so they are doing that.
They're saying you're not
For
coming.
the most part, they do. Not always, but.
At least they're paying attention some way.
Yeah, then you have to figure if they're excused because of a severe illness, they may be out for 3 months.
Yeah.
We've had that before.
Yeah, the only thought I have is, I agree, it makes it easier for today to say if you're out a certain number, you're out. But then once you do that, you lose the flexibility. I guess the question is, have we had a real problem with the system we have? Understanding, it may involve a little bit of activity, but it allows you the flexibility where someone has a terrible illness in their family, or some unforeseen. That's the part.
Then the final.
We had it where we made that change, and then 2 years from now, we're sitting here saying, well, this is too rigid, we have
The final decision then could be at the discretion of the board? Something like that.
It kind of is.
Right now, I believe it's in the bylaws or somewhere that we can't just drop them. You have to take a resolution to the full board. to drop them. And it has to be passed by the board. So we
Right.
almost got to that point with one person this time. And finally they send in the resignation letter, because I think that's kind of embarrassing to the person to be publicly outed like that. But
Any director may be
that's
removed
the
from the board.
policy. It must be in the bylaws somewhere.
Subject to removal, the director will have the opportunity to be heard before the board prior to the vote. But
Right, if you have the automatic termination, you've essentially publicly done that too. Because you're gonna have to reflect it in the minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, just,
Yeah.
we've run into
Yeah.
that.
A little bit of flexibility, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
Well,
tried to
with
make
our-
it really easy. Just tell them, just please reply to this email that you're resigning. You don't have to sit down and write a formal letter or anything. We don't have a resignation form. And that's work. The people just reply, yes, thank you. Sorry, I can't do this anymore.
Is that Derek's first term that expires in April or second?
First
First.
term.
it's hard to believe because we've been here longer than, I guess he filled someone else's
Filled
term.
somebody else's
must-
Because I remember he was bringing donuts when we were still in old office.
Okay.
I
To
thought maybe he
explain-
would come to the workforce meetings, but he hasn't done that. either.
That's how
On the donuts.
That's how you cleanse your absences when you're in the donut business.
So,
Good to know.
if we're gonna bring his potential termination to the full board, what do we do here today?
I would think that what you would do here is have a conversation with Derek on the basis that he's, back to missing meetings. And the real question is, do you want to continue to serve going forward? And you have the time to move, to commit to being up for reelection and let it ride out.
Okay,
This month will be his third absence in a row. So I would suggest that if he does not show, then I send him another letter saying, I think it's time. We won't be taking action. We have this one vacancy right now, and depending on Rick Nesbitt's today, so we won't have vacancies available until the April meeting when we propose the new slate. So I don't think we need to rush here. We can just see if he shows up, and then I'll write and see if I can get a resignation from him. But otherwise, we'd be filling a place a month before a new slate starts, which I think we can we can carry a vacancy for a month or two.
you're gonna get a hold of him? Sarah,
What?
you're going to get a hold of him?
Yes.
Okay,
Actually, I could write him now and say, I hope he shows up, or I could do that now.
and then the only other person on here that seems to miss a lot of meetings is Rick, not you. And he's ex officio. Should we talk to Matt, or what should we do?
Yeah, I was gonna talk to Supervisor Scalera and then speak with the chairman as to whether the chairman and Rick want to have someone else designated
Good.
as the representative. At the same time, you'll recall that John Riley was the representative several years back, and he was never able to show up. So I think that, I know Rick Scalera had indicated that, he was, our meetings conflict with some commitments he has to provide childcare to his grandchildren. So, I think that it's important to have a representative, but, you take someone like Supervisor Skoda, who's the chair of the Economic Development Committee, who traditionally the person in that seat was the representative. He's not gonna be able to come to meetings at this time of day as a farmer.
Right.
Well, I
So,
think if it was put it back to the title like that even if he doesn't show up, at least you go to the economic development meetings and have a relationship with him there. So,
and I do meet with the chairman at least every 2 weeks. And we have regular contact with the supervisors through the Columbia Forward program and the work that Chris Brown is doing on housing. So I do think that, but I know he feels sensitive about it too, so I'll get his guidance as to how he would like to handle it.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Is there any other discussion on the attendance? Hearing none, then we'll move on. Committee appointments.
We need to approve that attendance report.
Rachel has asked to be on the loan committee.
Yeah, you're right. We do need a backup for a second.
I'll make a motion.
The new Rachel.
Sarah, you had asked a question about this, and the bylaws provide the standing committees shall be as described below. Each standing committee shall consist of 3 directors. Then you had asked why we don't have more than 3 directors on all the committees except loan. So when you're filling these slots, I think you need to have that discussion first.
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up for a second. Item 3, review of the board committee attendance. We have a motion and a second.
No,
No, I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
Actually, he's
Tara's got my
non-voting.
slack.
Okay.
He's non-voting because he's not on the committee.
And a second was Kenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposition carried.
He's working for the accounting firm auditing our behavior, right?
We can make a motion to get him on the board and then he can.
I'll second that.
Right? Me too.
So what do we do with committee appointments?
Oh, should we send out something to each of the members of the board asking them what committees? Do they want to stay on the committee that they're on, or do they,
Why don't we just bring it up at the next meeting?
we'll bring that up. Jim, what,
Yeah, all I'm doing next meeting.
I have brought that up in meetings. I have brought up that,
Do I have a meeting?
as,
Sarah, you kick the meeting off and elect him, and he moves into your seat.
That's what I thought.
hello,
Oh, you're tied.
And then you go to the end.
I'm headed for that door right
Sergeant
now.
of Arms sorts him out.
yeah.
Didn't use
I
the
have-
elevator.
Hello,
We'll give him a bungee cord.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have at meetings brought up if anybody would like a different committee or to change, and I have not heard anybody mention anything to date. Also in the charters, they specifically say one problem with the governance and nominating that I'm having problem with is this, the only one that says 5 should be on the committee. The rest of the committees are open, or they say 5 or more. And I would like to change that for the governance and nominating, because I asked Rick to come today because both Dave and I are going off, and I'd like to have be able to bring some more members on now so that we have a good transition when we've got so many new members to propose for May. So that's a charter change I see, but the bylaws are different than the charters on this subject. So Andy, that would be something for you to address going forward. And I have a few comments on our charter, but let's do that after Rick Nesmith comes in. But then I just, for today, would like to approve Rachel moving to the loan committee, because then that can be passed at the full board this month and get her on that committee. I mean, she can certainly start attending, and all the committees are pretty full right now. So I think that's fine to put her on that one. I don't think there's no,
So we need to,
it's really down.
so Rachel and Rick, you're coming on this committee?
Yes.
Can we do them together?
Rick can't come on this committee until we change the charter.
Just because it says 5.
Because it says 5.
No, it says at least 3. You can have more than 3.
Great.
You can have 10, but it says at least 3.
Okay.
Can we or can't we appoint Rick today?
I think we can,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint Rick to this committee and Rachel to the loan committee.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
This goes to the floor.
Yes.
Great.
To
Motion,
make a motion to.
To the full
recommend.
Yeah, recommend to the full board.
any opposition? The motion's carried.
I think that, Lisa, you had input in this, in the context of the more, is it better to have more people, or is it to get the quorum, or is it, staying at 3 to 5, make it easier to get the quorum from experience?
The more people, the more of a chance you don't get a quorum.
The 3 was to keep, it's easier to get a quorum with 3 than it is to get it with 5, and worse with 7.
Well, at least with 5, 3 people make a quorum, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You get to 10, you get a problem.
And I think on the loan committee, it's the only committee that the bylaws allow for someone who is not a board member to serve on the committee. And the intent there was if you could get someone in the community who had some banking or financial services experience, you might want to do that. We've never done that. I don't believe we've ever done that.
No, but right now, the attendance is very good at that committee. And
Also could have someone who rolled off the board, who was interested and served on the loan committee in the past and added value that you might ask to serve on that committee.
yeah, I think we're good.
Dave,
We've done the committee appointments.
Rachel, you want to appoint Rachel?
We did.
No, you did, Rick.
We said we can.
We did both.
Yeah.
Together.
We vote.
Come on, get with the program.
Annual meeting.
Yes, our annual meeting is scheduled for the last Tuesday in April. I've been working with Jim Calvin on possible ideas for location. The first was Clock Estates. You may recall several years ago, the annual meeting featured someone who had developed a project, or I think one year there were 3 projects that were presented rather than a political or policymaker type speaker. John Frischkoff is concerned that he doesn't have space in any one of the rooms at the restaurant, at the facility that would accommodate 100 plus people in the same room. He's also not sure if he's going to be ready or if he's already set up and he has to tear it down to set it up for the purposes of our meeting. Jim had suggested, and I asked John if he would be the keynote speaker. That would not change if we have the meeting somewhere else, and take us through what is probably the largest project completed to date in the county in many years. What we did do is we did reserve the college as a backup, but Jim had some other thoughts on venues, and perhaps you'd like to share them.
What do you think about Basilica here in Hudson as a venue for the annual meeting?
Yeah, big space.
Big parking. We own the chairs, right, Martha? Did they pay us
That
off?
would be, no.
We have a lead up the chairs.
We have a lien on the chairs? We can keep
I
going.
don't think.
How many chairs do we take home?
Bring the truck.
Yeah, that was the only thing I wasn't sure about.
Who would cater it?
Specifically, do you have to bring in chair,
No,
they have all that.
the issue of catering is wherever we go because the college no longer has food service. So
Right. I would-
Martha's working on that for us.
Okay. I would ask that whoever did the college last time, we don't hire them. But
Any concerns about the Basilica? Any objections? Any discussion?
no, I'm
Okay, we
okay.
can reach out to Melissa.
Would HDC take offense to our entering their jurisdiction? Okay.
It is a county seat, so we could go to the Wakahama school.
Aquawanic.
I'm Irish, I'm not Native American.
Are they set up with tables and everything? Can they do all that?
Yeah, they do.
No.
We just want to ask for the $250,000 wedding package.
Is the caboose big enough? Down at Kitty's there, is the caboose place or even the Basilica?
The Basilica is certainly big enough. The caboose is just about, it's pretty tight, I would think, for 100 plus, but we can look at that as well.
That's the place by the train station?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim and I will coordinate following up on that. The bylaw review, Jim and I started that. We're going to loop Andy and Sarah into that next. And then do we have a February governance committee or March?
Yes, it's in February.
Okay, so we'll get a copy of our draft proposal out to all of you before that meeting, and then hopefully preliminarily approve any bylaw changes to recommend to the membership at the annual meeting in a timely fashion. And when I went through it, there's some things that are inconsistent with how we actually do things over time. One being that members are supposed to submit an application, and the board is supposed to review them and decide whether to allow them to join. At this point, if you're duly incorporated, and we don't require a certificate of good standing if you send a check.
If the check clears,
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah.
So we got you in.
And so,
Skin in my teeth.
the other side of this is we did check, based on the bylaws, it says that the initial bylaws, when I came, we modified them. This was the First Amendment. It said that the notice could be provided by telegram in the earlier version of the bylaws. But the bylaws do recite that the original certificate of incorporation was filed on June 9th, 1964, which puts us in the same annual celebration year as the chamber at 60 years. So I think we just want to make sure that if we're carrying out the activities in a way that's not directed by the bylaws, that we either go back and make sure we do it the way it says, or we change the way it says.
Great. I think the first bylaw review we did, the bylaws were about 40 years old.
Yeah.
So we're getting better.
And I think some of the things that we put in at that time, I think as we go through it, I'd like to retain. We did make it, the original quorum was, we had 17 board members, the quorum was 9.
No, it was like 3.
It was 3. Yeah, two people could have voted for the whatever needed to be done by the whole board. It was, in time of transparency, it's the number of seats, not the number of board members. And then we talked about the venue. We're not locked in yet to John Kristoff as the keynote speaker. I know last year we had first reached out to the president of the New York Fed, who lives in Clavering, but he was in April. They're in some kind of a lockdown because of policies. They do not go out and speak. The bylaws do say, for fear they'll influence markets somehow. But the bylaws do say that the annual meeting has to be held in the first 6 months of the year. I'm not proposing that we change that. We did do it in October during COVID remotely, but I think if we stick with that date, if anyone had any suggestions on a keynote speaker, we can either get this group or the full board to recommend it soon so we can send out the invitation. I remember for years we had pride and joy. Hugh Johnson, give us his prediction. He never went back and reviewed what his prediction was in the subsequent years that he visited with us. He was always entertaining, and drew a big crowd. But I do think that
he did say it was the first time he was ever invited back, right?
Yeah. And have you ever met a one-arm economist on one hand and on the other hand? He had all the standard jokes. But, and then we did have Adam Bosch, the president of Pattern for Progress, who was excellent in terms of laying out the groundwork and perspective of the region that we're operating in from a socioeconomic perspective. We have been actively working on the housing front, and we talked about having Chris make a brief presentation to the full board as to what exactly is our housing initiative, so that following up on our last discussion. So I think we're open to a speaker, and I think the key part is the first half hour as people network before they sit down, and we've been somewhat successful in limiting the elected officials to simply to chairman of the board of supervisors, and not have every elected official from here to let me speak. So they're duly acknowledged. And if there's anything that you recall from the meeting that you thought it needs to would make it better, we try to be out by 9:15. We're usually pretty close to that, and be happy to integrate any type of change to the format that you think might be appropriate.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump back to item 1 on the agenda with a candidate interview and introduce Rich Nesbitt. Come on up.
Good morning. Rich.
Morning.
Rich was recommended to the board by Mike Johnson. And we have his resume here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had worked your way up through the, and then finally became the owner of the insurance company.
Yeah, it only took me 31 years, but.
That's quite a step.
What were you, 16?
Yeah, I was pretty young, yeah. Yeah, I actually obtained my criminal justice degree and was going to follow my father's footsteps in a trooper. And it was during the first Cuomo administration of budget cuts, so there was no state police exam. And, being out of college, what's the next step? Find out how to at least make a buck. And started selling door to door for a life insurance company down in Kingston. And that was great training, but I realized very quickly that I did not want to do that the rest of my life. And so I started working for the agency, and then the rest is history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So maybe a bit about us first. We're a board of 19. Our goal is to increase businesses, increase employment in businesses in the county. Mm-hmm. And we are probably our prime item that we do is loan money to businesses. So we have a full board, and then we have offshoots of 4 different committees. This is one of them, governance and nominating. Okay. And if elected, you'd be on the board, and you'd be expected to sit on 1 committee. So you're going to look at 2 meetings a month. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? I guess I covered it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go around the table.
Okay.
Start. I'm Dave Finger. I just take it. I was with Mid-Hudson Cablevision until December 31st, at which time I am now retired.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
time served.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like it, run my own construction business down in Livingston.
Okay.
I'm Jim Calvin. I'm in Malaysia. I have a freelance public relations business called Calvin Communications. I'm a phone line kid, and I'm a client of yours, and I have some questions about my rates.
While you're here. I'm Andy Howard. I'm the board attorney.
Okay.
I'm Mike Tucker. I'm the president and CEO.
Okay.
Bringing staff. Chris Brown, Housing Development Coordinator for CEDC.
This is Patricia Copy, Administrative Supervisor, and if you're on the board, I'm going to thank you.
Okay. Here's the reminder.
I'm reminded.
I'm Sarah Sterling. I'm Sarah Sterling. We didn't get to meet, but I'm home with the 6, so we'll meet in person.
Yes.
Sarah's actually the committee chair here.
Okay.
So you need to suck up.
Okay.
Maybe we should know.
She's the only one. military. I have a business here in Hudson, an auction, and I live in Clark.
And Rick Cummings, Malvern Gas here in Hudson. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I'm Martha Lane, Business Development Director.
And Steve Vandenberg, and I work with Martha on our loan program.
Okay, great. Nice to meet everyone.
Okay, I should also add, I'm the chairman of the board, outgoing chairman of the board, and Jim is the incoming chairman of the board.
Okay, yeah. I, as soon as you said committees, brings me back to the day when I was on the school board in Chatham, and it was like, everyone that convinced me to get on the school board was like, it's only one meeting a month.
Right.
And that's all you. And next thing you know, you get pulled into all the.
One meeting at last.
Right.
Their
Yeah.
workshop.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, all good though.
So,
Excellent.
more about you?
So I keep very busy, but my kids are all grown now, so that gives me a little bit more time. My oldest is 24. She's a radiological tech in Watertown. And my middle is 21. She's in Montana in college. And my youngest just graduated high school and is trying to figure out what he's going to do. So I have a little extra time these days. And besides insurance, I also enjoy construction, working on properties, fixing them up, flipping them, and also Airbnb business. So had an Airbnb business in Lake Placid and sold that at when the market seemed to be peak in October of 22. And so now looking for my next project up there. So I don't sit still very long. I enjoy being active and I really enjoy the Airbnb business because insurance people really don't like. and then I got the experience of dealing with people that are on vacation and they're happy and they spend money and it's like it's a completely different group of people you're dealing with. So it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Well, I was just gonna say, so in the insurance business, one of the things, you're exposed to everything.
Yeah.
All types of businesses and residential, commercial. What do you, I'd be just curious, what do you think is positive economically in the county? Where do you think we need to work on? Because that's kind of what we're here all about here.
Yeah.
Is, and collectively, we kind of have this, we throw these ideas out and try to support the things we want to see move forward. And help people that, so I'd just be curious on if you had any input into that or your thoughts.
I think the landscape for any business in Columbia County has changed since 2000, since 9/11, right?
Yeah.
It's and then COVID just gave it another shot in the arm. And I've been in a Spencertown Fire Company, also its fire district for 20 some odd years, and I'm somewhat retired from that. I'm not active anymore. I was chief, and I did all along with kids and coaching. So I don't know how I did it those years, but you just do it, right? And so looking back at the lay of the land and our clients today versus, we don't have the born and raised here as much. And honestly, as a business owner, as I'm sure you can relate, it's becoming harder and harder to find people.
Absolutely.
And it's everywhere. It's a common conversation I have with my clients. It's the need for help. And not only for businesses, but for volunteer organizations such as the fire company. Every single fire district that we insure is in sportsman club. It's the same theme, and they all need hands, and it's getting worse and worse. And there's not a lot of young people coming into those to fill in, and actually looking to start a business with my son. He's going to be like a home handyman. He's been doing construction for 2 years when he was in high school. He's doing construction now. He's got a great mentor in Hillsdale, Seth Gardner, and great family, Gardner family from Hillsdale. So he's learning a lot of things, and there's such in our area, there's been a lot of new construction because of people moving up from the city, which has been great. But when you look around at the contractor world, which is a big part of our business, they're in their 50s and 60s. And there's not a lot of guys replacing them. a lot, you know, and unfortunately the schools aren't promoting it. The schools don't promote, like when we were in school, we had shop, right? And we don't, so that's the biggest change that I've seen in the landscape in Columbia County is, you know, the young families that were here, you know, the father was in the fire company, then the son was in the fire company or the son took over the business that the father established. It's really few and far between.
I agree.
These days.
I agree.
And I think that is a problem that trickles down to everything else.
And here we have workforce development. We're coming at it from the housing angle. So
Yeah.
you'll get that's a
Right.
topic, a popular topic around it.
Yeah.
Might be a
yeah.
good committee.
Workforce development.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, if they can't afford to live here,
That's right.
then there's no reason for them to stay.
And that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Rich, is that a factor with your kids that are in Montana and another town? Is affordability a part of the reason that they're not here?
Yeah. My oldest did her internship in Watertown. So she was at the hospital up there for a year. And I said, there's no way she's staying there. she loves the area. She's working at that hospital, but she's also a subcontractor. So she kind of bounces the job. So she's in Glens Falls. She's got an apartment in Glens Falls as well. So she goes back and forth between the two. But yeah, there's, you know, for her, they were born and raised in Auschwitz. And for them to find something that's of the same level that she's at for what she's making, it's, you know, unfortunately, and then you throw into it the cost of, you know, you got lower income and then you got higher expenses for where we are. It doesn't add up, unfortunately. As much as, you know, and I think that's what my son, I think that will be, and I've been pitching this to him for about 6 months since he graduated. And I think that will fill a big void in our area, is that there's a lot of contractors that don't have time to do the smaller stuff. But then we've got this generation that really doesn't know how to do things just like we did growing up, you know, and it's a need. So I think there's certain, as with any town, any community, the changing landscape, it's what can you do to adapt. That's been my experience for 31 years for sure. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Enough.
You hear about these contractors, right?
Oh, well, that's a whole,
Yeah.
you're gonna talk to me about help.
Yeah, that's it. I said that my son, you know, he loves some of the guys down in Harrington's and going down there, and he's always been one of those kids that enjoy just, you know, talking to the older generation, and Ozzy and, you know, those guys that are down there, and I said to him, I said, you know, you start paying attention when you're in Harrington's in the morning, what the average age is, and I said it's shocking. But that's a problem that's coming.
Oh, it's bigger than you think.
Yeah, it is.
I'm 69 years old and I can't even think of slowing down.
Yeah, right.
Even though I want to.
Yeah, you're still doing it.
I finished a job last week and a lady pays me and she says, now get me all new shutters, 2 new storm doors, and then paint the house in the spring.
Yeah.
I just stood there with my mouth open like,
Yeah,
are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of like the mop. Once you get in, you can't get out, right?
Right. And once they have you, while you're here,
Yeah.
we're not letting you go while you're here.
Right.
This is your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's help is nothing,
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to be able to contribute any way I can to help, you know, our area and our county, because I think I certainly don't have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers maybe, but I think I can contribute with my own experience of what really the problem is at hand that we're dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. So what goes on now is after you've left, we vote on recommending you to the full board. And then the full board meets in another week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then they vote. So.
Yep.
In another hour. In the next hour, I'll call you and tell you what happened, and we'll move on.
Okay.
But thank you.
Sounds good. Very nice to meet everyone. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
See you. Yep. Bye. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. See you. Bye.
Okay.
executive session to discuss the candidate?
We can. Motion to go into executive session. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carry. Okay, can I get a motion to either accept or not accept Rich Nesbitt's full board?
I'll make a go ahead, Tara.
Can you?
What's that?
Can you?
I can't yet?
Can you?
You gotta be approved by the full board.
Okay. I'll make a motion
I'll second.
to recommend the candidate to the full board.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This is carried. Thank you.
Let's try Rick.
We have a proposed candidate.
Sarah, you had two other potential candidates?
Yes, I have three. I've sent you all what information I have on them. Chris Nardone from the college has been proposed by Carly Drummer. And I sent his resume, which you haven't been able to see yet. I assume Christian Lopez, proposed by Mike Malinsky. He owns Coyote Flaco. And I don't have a resume for him, but there's a article on him in a local newspaper. And then Jennifer O's McDonald, proposed by Sean Sawyer. I don't have a resume yet. She has the Old Dutch Inn in Kinderhook. And I knew her years ago when she had the school that was out at the old baseball field. I think they closed during COVID. But I've started to contact with her and I'll get a better resume from her. I think she's also in the Samascot family. So she would bring in some farming, which is always a difficulty for us. So those are the three that I'm proposing. We interview them next month because then we don't have.
I would like to discuss Chris Nardone for a moment. Chris had been running the New York Works office, which is located at the college, but it's the New York State Labor Department's one stop. So if you're on unemployment, that's your point of contact to be looking for a job and to get job assistance and training. He recently was selected by the Columbia Green Workforce Investment Board to be their executive director, replacing Katie Dake, who had that job for many years as a consultant. So his office is going to remain at the college. The one thought that I had was, would it make sense to, because we are looking for more business people as members, to consider making the director of the Columbia Green Workforce Investment Board an ex officio member, so that whoever that might be over the course of time would be in that role, and it would demonstrate publicly our commitment to workforce development and education. And I think it would more clearly delineate that he's not, his office happens to be at the college, but he's not part of the college. And I don't know, it's something, I think Chris would be an excellent board member, but I know there has been concern over time that I've heard from board members and others that having people who sign the front of the check as opposed to the back of the check really should be the heart of our board. And we do have a significant number of not-for-profit board members, which is important, particularly when you look at the arts and cultural resources in the county. But I don't know that the decision has to be made today, but as we look at these three candidates together and we look out as to who's on the board now and what skill sets and representation we're attempting to achieve with the board, having an additional ex officio member might be a way of handling that board seat.
I
like that idea.
I think that's a very interesting, good idea with that. And I also had a question when we get into the bylaws, because our membership now of voting members is 17. And this table here actually won't fit 17 people at it if everybody showed up. And one question would be, do we actually need 17 members?
We get a bigger table.
We get 5, 10, 15, 20. We just need to pull up a few more chairs. And staff might have to use a seat to come up as needed.
I, for one, like the idea of another ex officio for built around Chris. I like him. He's a good guy, but you're right. We should stick to our guns. We're a board of business people, and I'd like to see that continue. Discussion?
No.
But do we want to interview him or not?
We'd have to, wouldn't we?
Well, we wouldn't have to interview him if we pick someone who is in the job of running the workforce board. I think more importantly, we should include it as part of the discussion of bylaws and deal with it when we present that to this committee at a future date and then to the full board based on your recommendation at that time.
So we don't need an interview then? No. I don't think we need an interview, sir. I think it would be automatic once we do it.
I think that if the decision turned out not to do it, that you would want to interview him for an open board seat as an individual.
Okay. So
I mean, there's no with him on a plan to another when it hasn't happened yet.
I thought I would share, if it's okay with the committee, with Carly, since she recommended him.
Yeah,
And then,
I was gonna
can I get-
ask, I was going to ask you, Mike, if you would speak with Carly about that.
Okay, unless you would like, Sarah. I'm happy to do it, but,
I think
well,
it's
you and I can
better
talk.
if you do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm happy to do it.
So the second one is Mr. Lopez. What's his first name?
Christian.
He owns several of these Coyote Flacos, right? Or just the one? There's more than one.
There's one down in Dutchess County, I believe. I think that's still in operation. I don't know. Yeah, two.
Okay.
We don't really
So
have
he-
anybody in the restaurant business on the board.
I guess he doesn't have a resume.
But wasn't that, we've had him before, right? But he wasn't up for, or we didn't have his resume. Did she recommend
His
him a
name
while
was
ago?
discussed. I
Name was
think,
discussed.
I think Michael Linsky said someone, you recommended him as somebody who would like to
Right.
pursue.
So this is what we got. Do you want to discuss this with only this, or do you want a resume?
I think we should have a resume.
And then an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
formal process.
I mean, this is fine, but we
Yeah.
always had a resume of some sort.
Okay.
Had to make an actual resume for this.
We are in agreement on that?
I,
Two? Okay.
yeah.
So we'll get with Michael and ask him to get a hold of him. Get a resume. All right.
Well, do you want to interview him pending the resume? Because otherwise we're putting it off till May and we don't have a lot of people unless we meet for a special meeting. I had hoped to meet with him last week, but I've been sick, so in person, so to get that.
Resume.
Yeah, we're meeting in February, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
And have
We
a resume in advance interview the next meeting.
can interview him in February.
Does that work, Sarah?
what was that?
You get a resume and circulate it before the February meeting and then have him here for an interview
Okay,
in February.
okay.
Okay.
And the same with the woman that you had also mentioned.
Jennifer, right. Okay. And those are the only prospects I have right now.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
We'll meet at lunchtime. Bring donuts.
We have a potential of four openings. There's a potential for 4 openings on the board in May.
Okay.
Dave, myself, and Ruth are coming off, and then depending on what happens with Derek, there could be 3 to 4, 3 definite.
Sure, we're gonna also have our new guy.
Yeah.
So maybe only 3.
Yeah.
I could speak with Ruth about if there's someone from another arts organization. Depends on how you fit, the balance of the board is to how many arts versus business versus all of that.
It's a very exciting time for Ruth at RMI when you saw the announcement of the $60 million project. And it did receive $2 million from the Regional Economic Development Council. And as the article I saw, it appears they've completed all of their planning board and zoning approvals, and they're actually doing site work. So
Very good.
There might be someone there that she would recommend. What's happening with the Shaker Museum?
I think their plan is to still move forward. They are going through some additional review of the design and based on cost, and also looking at additional fundraising.
Okay. Staffing.
We are still in the process of attempting to identify someone to replace Jessica. We have 3 potential candidates, and we are at a point where I'm going to sit down with Jim and discuss them. And the process in the past has been for the board chair and I to interview them, and then I would make a decision. We did place the ad again for both positions in what's called Gannon's List, and Peter Gannon, who is the president of the United Way, has a side business where he posts jobs of this nature, government associations, industry associations, and I do think that I was kind of shocked. I mean, we spent over $1,500 advertising in the Business Review, the Register Star, the paper, Indeed. Most of the Indeed resumes we got were AI from Peru and not in upstate New York, Peru. And the salary is a reasonable salary for both positions in Columbia County. But I did see where the Plattsburgh Chamber just hired a woman from the Albany area who's going to move up there and be in economic development. So we did also run it in the New York State Economic Development Council's weekly newsletter, as well as the Business Council and other places. We do have, we are going to see the 2 candidates or 3 candidates, but I do think as difficult as it is workload wise, I don't want to take someone just to take someone. They have to be the right fit.
Yep.
Well, yeah. No, it's just. All right.
Okay. I think that covers it.
I've got
Sorry.
one other thing, and I realize in the consent agenda we passed the charter review, but I think I finally identified all of the problems with our charter, governance and nominating, and I've sent you all some notes on that. I suggest that Andy and I get together and present the updated charter next month. If you approve of that, there's some typos, and then there was some things left, a couple things left out. But they're pretty simple. I don't think that any of them need a huge discussion. I think I finally straightened out. There was some it's been difficult, but I think we're at the end of that problems.
Our issue is the charters are based on what the ABO has posted, so that we felt that we would use what they suggested, so that we didn't get outside of their boundaries. But Sarah's right; they're not. They don't conform with each other, and we need to make sure that they're consistent from committee to committee.
Good.
We worked last year. Andy and I worked, and we really got all of the different charters all on the same page, and everything was working. And then there was a last minute glitch with this one because there were some hidden changes in the last couple of years that we didn't take into effect. And one of them is when we do the slate of officers, and then also the 5 or more, I think, should be in there. Just a couple of small changes. So almost done with all of it. Thanks.
Okay. What's that?
There's no one for public comment? Nobody. Yes, there's one.
Okay. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So nobody's got any objection?
No objection, so ordered. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next time, Rick, you can help.